trying to fool other people and also fool herself into thinking that she is happy living this vampiric life when actually it makes her miserable. The body, the voice, the energy, her facial reactions being like a little bit bigger than a normal person's would be, it's all part of this high energy Harley Quinn act that she's doing as she tries to fool people. And that honestly made her a really interesting challenge to play as an actor, because when you're playing somebody who's putting on an act, you're putting on an act as someone who's putting on an act. It's kind of like acting squared. And so I need to be able to show the audience that A, this is a performance the character is putting on, but also B, you need to be able to see the real person underneath that and understand her reasons for doing this. I've been quite drawn to characters who do this over the last few years. So in House of the Dragon, Shariko Loha is also putting on a bit of a performance to try and unsettle people. When I did The Prince on stage in London, Hotspur, my character in that, is doing a similar thing. The key to making a performance like that work is finding those moments where the mask just drops. Something else I like to do is recreate a character's core memories from their backstory. So when I played Jess in Django for Sky and Netflix, one of the key things I was told about her was that when she was a child, her father tried to drown her in a horse trough. So I ran a bath in my apartment and I put my own hand on the back of my head and I pushed my head down into the water safely. Obviously I wasn't in any real danger, but I was just trying to recreate that physical sensation of the water being in my nose and my ears and my eyes to try and conjure up this imaginary traumatic memory for her. For Belladonna, I did a bunch of improvisations with Morgana Ignis, who was my co-star, and also with our director, Valentina V, exploring the moments where those characters met for the first time, and also exploring the moment she first met Dracula. Part 2. Delivering lines. I like to use something called Laban technique. Rudolf von Laban was an Austro-Hungarian dancer who theorized that there are 8 kinds of movement. Float, glide, dab, flick, press, ring, slash, and thrust. Laban exercises consist of practicing these 8 movements or efforts, and then you can also apply them to delivering lines. That's quite abstract, so it'll be helpful if I showed you. Belladonna spends a lot of time in flick and dab. Oh yeah, I'm a vampire. You know, I never would have guessed that you were. All the months that we worked together, you just seemed kind of average. Lighter efforts are where she likes to stay. Again, it's all part of this act she's performing. She's keeping up this appearance that everything is fine, everything's light, everything's fun, everything's jumpy, everything's energetic. Later on in the film, her efforts sometimes get a little bit heavier. She also flits quite erratically between light ones and heavy ones. He does not gaslight me! Disengage your lesbian feminist therapist brain. He doesn't show love the way a human would. He speaks every language and he's been everywhere. I barely remember 9/11. He remembers the last 20 9/11s. I find Laban really useful if I get stuck. Because if you're rehearsing or performing take after take after take, you can be doing the same line 100 times and it can start to feel stale. And I find a really good way to just shake things up is to use a different Laban effort. Like, okay, what have I've been doing like flick a lot? What if I just try this line in glide? What if I try it in ring or press? Or just change it up a bit, you know? I even do this when I'm voice acting. When I played Nocturne in Baldur's Gate 3, and when I played Aranai Lyroon in the new Sojourn audio drama Faithless, I did spend a lot of time on their body language, even though those characters don't have bodies. It's all kind of virtual or just imaginary, right? You might be thinking that all of that sounds weirdly technical. I mean, isn't acting just about feeling emotions? And yes, it is. But as the famous Russian director Konstantin Stanislavski reminds us in his book An Actor Prepares, emotions are fickle things. You can't always rely on having the right feelings. Sometimes if you're doing a scene, the muse will descend and you'll just be totally in it. But you can't count on that happening every time. Techniques like Laban are designed to turn talent into skill. It's something that can be reliably summoned. Remember that between all the different angles and takes and rehearsals, you might be performing a scene for days. And when you're a professional actor, you need to be able to do it every time, as many times as it takes. And by the way, these techniques do summon genuine emotional inspiration. There was a moment during the filming of Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend where I broke down crying for real because I accessed some dark feelings in my performance that I hadn't thought about in a long time. It all sounds technical when you explain it, but creativity's like that, you know? I mean, I guess like recipes sound very, very technical, but then cookies are delicious. Some directors are cool with you improvising lines on set, but honestly that varies. I would say that about 20% of the dialogue in Django was improvised, which was really, really cool. That was the kind of set that they ran. Whereas on House of the Dragon, when we shot that, the writer's strike was on, and so everything had to be performed exactly as it was written on the page. It really just depends. Most of the time though, when it comes to line delivery, I just try and remember what my character wants, what she's trying to get in the scene, why is she saying this particular thing, and what's gonna happen if she doesn't get what she wants right now. Part 3. What is good acting? This one's an interesting question because I think that sometimes when people say, this is good acting, what we mean is, I enjoyed watching this. We're not really evaluating the craft, we're just being like, yay, I enjoyed it, or boo, didn't enjoy it. A philosopher would call these non-cognitive statements, which might sound a little bit insulting, like you're not cognizant, like you're just the scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz, you don't have a brain. But it just means that those sorts of statements are about how we feel rather than a true or false statement about the world. The rub is, of course, that people can enjoy or not enjoy a performance for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with whether it's technically good. There are actors who I don't enjoy watching, but that has nothing to do with whether the performance is technically good. I suspect that there is a slight gendered and racial element to this. Like, if you look up best acting compilations on YouTube, you may notice that almost all of the actors in them are white dudes. And also Meryl Streep. Here's some ones that don't fit that mold. Kirsten Dunst's performance in The Power of the Dog, one of my favorite performances in modern cinema. I think she's incredible in that. Kind of cheering for the home team here, I'm a little biased, but I think Emma Darcy's performance in season 2 of House of the Dragon was amazing. I thought they absolutely nailed it. Just the subtlety and the relaxation, like they make it look easy. It's phenomenal. Again, kind of cheering for the home team, but I thought Amanda Stenberg's performance in The Acolyte was really good. They had to play identical twins and differentiate them, and that's not an easy thing to do. That's really difficult. Good acting is relative to the story that's being told. And a really good illustration of this is Amazon Prime's show, The Boys. If you haven't seen it, The Boys is a satire of American media and politics that's deliberately shocking and extreme. There's a lot of graphic sex and ultra-violence and superhero stuff going on. And part of the point is that no matter how extreme they make the show, the reality of the United States is always worse. The acting in The Boys is quite big, and it's meant to be, because that's the sort of story that they're telling. And contrast that to, random example because I watched it recently, Justice Smith and Bridget Lundy Payne in I Saw the TV Glow. Their performances are so restrained, so minimal. And that's deliberate too, because that's the kind of story that director Jane Schoenbrun wanted to tell. The acting is very different, but it's all good acting, because acting has to serve the text, as we say. It has to tell the story, and these are very different stories. Part 4, the team. Fortunately, when you're an actor, there is a whole team of people who are there to help you out, and their work can really make or break a performance. I'm going to focus again on Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend here, mainly because I own the rights to the movie, so I can show you clips from it and behind-the-scenes photos, and there's no problems with copyright. Our director on decks was Valentina V, and she was also our director of photography, which means she was in charge of lighting and camera angles, and she is amazing. The really big lighting changes that make the movie pop, that was all Valentina. Some people are friends with their exes.
My ex is Count Dracula.
At various points throughout the film, characters get text messages from Dracula, and it was Valentina's decision to have those physically be on our phones rather than as little pop-ups. And that's a little bit of extra work, because it's hard to film a phone screen without reflections and glare and stuff getting in the way, but if you get it right, it's really worth it, because it just keeps us in those tense moments. Makeup really tells the story too. Our makeup artists on this were Danny Rose and Blair O'Leary. You might notice that Morgana's character, Faye, has a little bit more colour in her cheeks, whereas Belladonna is more pale. A little bit of foreshadowing of the story's twist there. Another nice detail, Faye's eyes have an inner highlight, and the waterline is clear, whereas Belladonna's are ringed in darkness. And the costume department plays a huge role too. Early on in the film, we learn that Belladonna's clothes were chosen by Count Dracula, and so we're learning a lot about him through what she's wearing. Our costume designer, Brianna Quick, was given the brief, make a costume that looks like it was picked out by a straight guy for his girlfriend who he doesn't really love, and he doesn't really care about comfort or practicality. And also he's really creepy. And she completely nails this. Like, Belladonna doesn't even